All right, good evening, everyone. Again, apologies, we're running just a couple minutes late. This is the Board of Education of the Livermore Valley Joint Unified School District. We're going to start the meeting off at 1906. This is our August 20th regular meeting. Just so you know, these meetings are televised. They're on Channel 28, TV 30, Tri-Valley TV, but they're on Channel 28 Wednesday evenings and Saturday mornings. We're going to start off this meeting, as we do with all of our meetings, with the flag salute. So I'm going to call up our Director of Partnerships and Outside Partnerships and the very special Philomena Rambo, if you could come up. And she's going to introduce who's going to be doing the, because it's kind of a special group this evening, and you can introduce who's going to do our flag salute.
Bueno. This evening, I am pleased to introduce this, for the first time this year, our school board representatives from Granada High School and Livermore High School. If Riley and Rada would come forward, and we would also like to invite forward any children here who are children of our administrators who are being honored this evening. We would love to have you join in the leading of the pledge. Come on up. If we have children here who are associated with Ag Day, we'd love to have you come up. There we go. And I'm going to hand it off to our high school seniors.
Please rise and join me in the pledge. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated.
You guys want to go shake their hands?
Do we go too?
Yeah, those of you. Nice job. Come on.
Good job.
Thank you. Nicely done. We'd love you to come up, but nicely done.
Welcome. Good to have you.
I mentioned we came in from closed session. We'd meet at 6, like today we met at 6, and then we met for about an hour. There's the hair running long. Any actions that we take in closed session, we report out. We took no action in closed session today. The agenda that we're going to follow, it's up on the board. Some of you may have grabbed a copy out in the entry. Again, this is the regular meeting of the Board of Education of Livermore Valley Joint Unified School District. Our primary focus is on the education of students within this school district. So during the meeting, you, our members of the public, will have the ability to share information and your ideas and your voices, concerns, questions regarding the matters within the jurisdiction of this public agency. During our discussion on each agenda item, there'll be a time that you can have the opportunity to speak to that item. If the item that you'd like to speak to is not on our agenda, it's not mandatory, but we ask you to fill out a speaker card. Those would be a tan speaker card. They're located in the entry. If it is on the agenda, please fill out a light blue speaker card. And in either case, just hand them in to the folks over here running all the IT and the audio, and they'll bring them on up. When it comes to the correct area, I'll introduce you in no particular order and have you come up and speak. Anyone who does come up and speak, whether it's in that regard or any other, just look to your right, and our Deputy Superintendent, Mr. Van Schakel, a 3-minute timer will come on to his front. And when you get down to around 30 seconds, if it doesn't appear as though you're going to wrap up, I'm not looking to be rude or anything, but I'll just say kind of be cognizant of time. And that's just so we all keep moving, and it's an orderly meeting and everyone's polite, and that seems to work out pretty well. Again, these meetings are televised. They're on Channel 28 at 7 p.m. in the evening and Saturday mornings at 900. And you can watch that right in conjunction with the cartoons. And that's one of the things when you come up, make sure the green light is illuminated on the bottom of that little podium mic there at the, when you speak. We want to capture your audio. We can hear you, but it's not picked up. And relative to the AV, tonight we're getting some assistance from Tri-Valley TV, so we've got some of their folks here, and they're just helping us on the whole quality improvement of cameras and audio and the whole setup and things. So we're real appreciative of them being here. So we can give a hand to TV 30 if we could. Okay, we're at section 4.0, and this is any possible changes to the agenda. And with that, I'd ask our superintendent, Dr. Kelly Bowers, if there's any changes.
Thank you, Mr. President. We actually do not have any changes tonight to the agenda.
Great agenda. And then we're going to go into recognitions, section 5. And if you could introduce our first, please.
Certainly, it's my pleasure to ask Mrs. Philomena Rambo to come forward once again. She is our Director of Community Engagement, and she will be doing the honors today of recognizing a wonderful group of community partners who make sure that all of our third graders have an incredible experience related to ag.
Thank you, Dr. Bowers. Good evening, President Bueno, members of the board, members of cabinet, and our wonderful community. I am honored to lead this evening's recognition of the many, many, many people who make Ag Day a reality. Since April of 2014, Ag Day, Agricultural Experience Day really, has provided an opportunity for third graders from throughout the city of Livermore, every school, to learn about the many ways that agriculture makes a difference in our lives and in our community. We would like, of course, to thank Sheila Faliano for having the original idea of introducing children to agriculture, and thank our superintendent, Dr. Bowers, for encouraging Sheila to make this happen. Their collaboration, along with the enthusiasm and support of literally dozens of organizations and individuals, has created a memorable event that inspires and educates close to 1,000 students each year. These students learn about the benefits of agriculture, they learn about our Livermore tradition, and they begin to see themselves in potential careers in agriculture. So we're deeply grateful to many organizations outside of Livermore or broader beyond Livermore who donate funds to this event, including our Alameda County Supervisor, Scott Haggerty, the Department of Fish and Game, the Livermore Rodeo Foundation, the Alameda County Cattlewomen's Association, and the Alameda County Cattlemen's Association. These organizations contribute funds that pay for buses, pay for demonstrations, and they pay for activities that provide students with education about their various industries. We certainly could not offer this event without their generous contributions. This evening, we are here to invite the people right here in Livermore who really make a difference. So at this time, I would like to invite the entire audience to come up, pretty much. If you're here because of Ag Day, if you could come up and fill the space behind me, please. Yeah, let's fill it all up. Come on in. Okay. All right. You're going to meet them all in just a moment. So we have invited our local partners to come, and this is a representative group of so many people who helped to make this possible. As I mentioned, Sheila Faliano works with our Livermore High School ag teachers, Joe McNeely, Lori Porter, and Jessica Calstini to plan the day. Dozens of community members and volunteers show up, teaching students how to spin yarn, plant seeds, hammer horseshoes, rope a steer, learn how a cow is milked, and among many other things. And I know many of you have had the opportunity to be at Ag Day, and you understand the excitement that this brings for our kids. These activities are really great because they allow our children to step into the shoes that have been doing this work for over 100 years in our community. So we have partners tonight, some of whom are representing all these groups: the Alameda County Farm Bureau, the Zone 7 Water Agency, Porter Cattle Company, 5 Star Networking, the California Cattlewomen's Association, Crane Ridge 4-H, Alden Lane Nursery, Slick Art, Wente Vineyards, Union Bank, Vieira Ranch, Ising's Culligan Water, Madsen Cattle Company, and many individuals who you may meet in just a moment. This list is short, and it shows you how many people, and even more than this, are involved in making this day possible. So at this time, I would love for you to get to meet these people very briefly, very briefly. They're going to tell you their name and their organization or what it is that they bring to Ag Day, and then we'll just pass the mic. I'll start with you.
I'm Presley Cooper, and I bring the pony and the mini donkey.
I'm Reba Sierra, and I brought the spinning wheel and wool.
I'm Bella Herman, and I brought a horse.
I'm Jessica Calistini, and I'm an ag teacher.
I'm Lori Porter, and I'm also one of the ag teachers.
I'm Tracy DeMera, and I brought the rabbit and KV animals for the Ag Day, and KV is another name for a guinea pig.
Joe McNeely, ag teacher. Carol Murray, I work with registration.
Sharon Hara, also registration.
Polly Stonage, Alameda County Cattlewomen, and Wow the Cow.
Sheila Faliano, and I am so lucky and blessed to be here with all of these people. I could not do this without this vast group, and I'm just one of many, so I'm very humbled and very pleased to be able to be here and have all of these people here to be acknowledged. Without them, Ag Day would not exist, so thank you so much.
I'm Cheryl Escobar, and I'm Alameda County Farm Bureau's second vice president.
Dan Escobar, Alameda County President.
Karen Davis of Slick Art, and I donate T-shirts.
Russ Dugan, and I do the sheep shearing.
Jackie Bowles, I bring the sheep for the shearing.
We need those.
Kim Bondi and John Masters, we're with the Auction Boosters, and we provide lunch, also with the Cattlemen's Association to help pay for the buses.
Dennis Gams, Zone 7 board member and proud supplier of water to ag, and also credentialed teachers to help the schools.
Thank you. I'm Liz Wilkins, and we bring an activity for the kids to learn about water throughout our watershed and what water has to do with ag, and that you can't have ag without water. So, and this is
Marcia Jones, and I'm one of the Zone 7 teachers that travels around and hits this, well, second. I was doing third last year, but this year I'm doing fourth in middle school.
And as we all know, we have the last remaining agriculture program at Livermore High School, and it is certainly because of the support of our community and this ongoing tradition that makes that a continuing star in our crown. So thank you so very, very much, all of you, and please go around and shake hands with the board members and be honored. Thank you.
They're always so involved when you see it. Good to see you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good work.
Nice to see you. Thank you.
Thanks for bringing it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good to have you. Great experience.
Thank you.
Thanks. How are you? Nice to see you.
Thank you.
Hey,
Always so wonderfully involved. It just makes you love.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Appreciate you coming here.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
That's awesome. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Hi there. Who would have thought you would come around here? Gotta have a cause. Perfect.
Thank you.
Hi, Sheila.
Hi.
Nice meeting you.
Nice
Yes.
to meet you.
Yeah, with Betty. It's been great.
Thank you.
Hi. Thanks for being here tonight.
Thank you.
Mini horse.
The mini. Thank you. Thank you.
Nope. Good to see you.
Thank you.
Good to see you today.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
What am I supposed to do? I don't know. She's got arthritis. Sheila Faliano, yeah, I know. But the lady that slapped my hand for shaking her hand too hard, she was like,
Oh my God.
What did we file out?
My favorite part about Ag Day is they ask the students, they start off with the third graders and they say, where does milk come from? And the kids will say, Safeway. By the end, they know where milk comes from. And then they'll say, what about chocolate milk? And they'll say, brown cows. So, you know, it's just really fun for the students as they make all these connections between our ag culture and their daily lives and all the interaction that they have with our high school students as well. It's really wonderful that ag students from Livermore High run a lot of the stations with the students, and so they get to see themselves in the future. So, and we include the private schools as well. So it's not, even though we sponsor it for the public schools, we bring all the third graders together. So it really is a citywide community event.
It's a good deal. If you would, introduce our next recognition.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's my pleasure to ask Mr. Chris Van Schack, our Deputy Superintendent, to do the honor of recognizing new administrators to the district, or new positions in our district administration.
Thank you, Dr. Bowers. It is indeed my honor this evening to recognize some folks who are new to us in an administrative role, and also some folks who are changing positions. So I invite those folks who are here this evening to step forward so we can say a little bit about you. So we are now 2 days into the school year, and these folks are still with us. So we're pleased with that. So I'm going to start with some folks who are new to positions this year. I'll start with Linnea Paulett. Linnea is our new Child Nutrition Services Director. She actually joined us partway through last year. She comes to us from Pleasanton, her most recent job. She's had other jobs in the food, director of food area in other school districts, and so we are thrilled to have her lead our program this year. So welcome, Linnea. Nick Olson is new to us. He's not here this evening, but he's our new bond program administrator, and he comes to us from Pleasanton as well. So we're pleased to have Nick on staff. Holly Ellison is here. Holly is the new vice principal at East Avenue. She comes to us 22 years in education, predominantly in Dublin, where she has spent some time mentoring teachers and also working overseeing some of their intervention programs. So we're thrilled to have her working with Ms. Guzman over at East Avenue. Also here this evening is Miss Jessica Mann. Jessica is the new Granada High School Vice Principal. She comes to us from Tracy, where she attended high school and then joined their staff later on, has been an outstanding teacher leader, and then a vice principal of the middle school in Tracy. So we're thrilled to have Jessica joining us. New to their roles this year, first of all, Dan Musselman. Dan's here. Dan is a Granada High School graduate, longtime Livermore resident, outstanding educator at Del Valle for a number of years, was a teacher leader, and now he steps into a more formal leadership role as the vice principal at Del Valle High School. So we are thrilled to have Dan with us. Next to Dan is Eric Bear Taylor. Eric is also a longtime employee here in Livermore, has served in a number of leadership capacities, and then this year he is the new principal for Del Valle. So he and Mr. Musselman form quite a team there at Del Valle. So we're thrilled to have the two of them. Matthew Hart. Matthew's front and center there. Matthew is the new principal at Granada High School. Again, Matthew joined us, I believe, in 1999-ish. Yeah, so 20 years with us, English teacher. He's also been a vice principal in our district at Mitchell, returned to Granada High School as a VP, and now is the proud principal at Granada High School. So welcome, Matthew. Daryl Avila, far left. Daryl goes back to Livermore High School. His school of origin, I think. Yeah, was a football coach, teacher, has been in a number of administrative roles in our district, has done an outstanding job, was formerly the principal at Del Valle, and he returns this year to Livermore High School to support the new principal, Ms. Gladden, who we'll introduce in just a second. So we're thrilled to have Daryl back at Livermore High School, probably homecoming for Daryl. So we're thrilled in that regard. Next to Daryl, like I mentioned, is Ms. Helen Gladden. Helen is the new principal at Livermore High School. Again, Helen's been with our district for a number of years in a number of different roles, and we are thrilled to have her back at Livermore High School. Far right side, Mr. Tom Fletcher. Mr. Fletcher, another longtime Livermore resident, administrator, a number of different roles, has been outstanding. He is heading over to Mendenhall Middle School this year, where he will support Ms. Tammy Rankin, formerly at Livermore High School, before that Granada, before that Livermore, so he's been around for some years. So congratulations, Tom, on the Mendenhall position. Ms. Kim McNeely is also up with us, probably the third or fourth time you've been with us. She took over as the bond director toward the end of last school year, so this is her first appearance as the new person in charge, so we're thrilled to have Kim in that role. Is Ravi here? Ravi Prabhala? Ravi is the new vice principal over at Joe Mitchell. And seems like last but always not least, Miss Vicki Scudder. Sorry to bring up at the end, Vicki, but Vicki's been serving our district for a number of years. I won't even mention how many. It's amazing. She's done an incredible job. And she's with us this year as the Assistant Director of Curriculum and Special Projects, where she'll work with Mr. Kevin Greer. So these are some folks new and some folks new to positions, and so this is our admin changes for this 19-20 school year. So welcome to all of them.
Yes, please. Come on around.
The rituals of fall. Some more time. Good to see you. Nice to see you.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Good to meet you. You gotta keep things moving now.
Well, thank you.
Hi. Get your light here.
Good, thank you. Good to see you again.
You didn't mention all the athleticism, you didn't mention all the accomplishments. Yes, you have to bring that up.
Oh, you got your rubber out.
Thank you. Go get them. That looks good in that. Hey, Coach. Oh, we're going to need you. Coach is back.
Is that Mrs. Mann's baby? The new baby? Oh, look at our new vice principal. Look at the little baby. Next year, ready to lead the pledge with us, right?
All right, moving into section, we're going to move into section 6. And this is our student board members. And so each year we have 2 new student board members from our 2 comprehensive high schools, Granada and Livermore. So this being the first meeting, we'll administer the oath of office. So Deputy Superintendent, Mr. Van Schack, and our acting clerk tonight, Mr. Rogi's not here, so our acting clerk, Mr. Wenzel, will go up and just assist.
You could do that if you'd like.
I'll do that for you.
You could hold it to them. Welcome, ladies. Okay, please repeat after me. I do solemnly swear
I, Radha Sritharan, do solemnly swear. I, Riley Mora, do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully discharge
and that I will well and faithfully discharge
the duties upon which I'm about to enter.
the duties upon which I am about to enter.
Congratulations. Good to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Well done.
Welcome aboard.
That's you.
Running in.
All right.
Good to have you.
All right, time to go to work. So what this gives our 2 comprehensive high schools the opportunity, through their representative, to do 2 things. 1, to be part of this process, and then 2, to kind of give us an update about what's going on at their school. So tonight, we're going to start off with Livermore High School, and we're going to start off with Radha, and so go ahead.
Good evening, Board President Bueno, Superintendent Bowers, member of the board, and members of the cabinet. I'm Radha Sritharan, and I'm currently a senior at Livermore High School, and I hold a position as ASB Attorney General for my 4th and final year of leadership. School just started 2 days in. We're going good, going strong so far. We started off yesterday with Cowboy Connection Day, which was our first year of hosting this. Basically, we started off with a rally schedule day, which is a little bit different. Freshmen walk on to a high school campus, new campus, 436 people, a little nervous. They have to go on about their days into their new classes, and they're not so sure what they're supposed to do. So we wanted to make sure that they had a lighthearted day, had fun, and enjoyed their day.
So second period, we started off with a rally out on the field. A little cold yesterday, but it was okay. We played football. We introduced all the captains, recognized our fall sports, and we did introduction messages with each of the following classes. So second, third, fourth, and fifth period consisted of each class attending an assembly, class-specific information. So freshmen got all their information about elections, about how they could join our leadership, all the way up to seniors getting graduation information. It was basically no backpacks, no syllabus, just a day to get the LHS community connected, and that was all thanks to our administration and our teachers at Livermore High School. This Friday will be our first football game of the season at home, Friday, August 23rd. Come out if you can. JV's at 4:30, varsity's at 7 p.m. against Golden Valley High School. And we are definitely going to be in our green and gold, so show up in some green or some gold and show your Cowboy spirit. And it will always be a great day to be a Cowboy. So thank you so much for having me on the board, and I'm excited for the upcoming year. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now we're going to move to Granada. Riley Mora.
Good evening, Board President Bueno, members of the board, Superintendent Bowers, and Cabinet. My name is Riley Mora, and this evening I will speak on behalf of my peers at Granada High School. The Granada community enjoyed a lovely summer break. Many students spent their time pursuing artistic, athletic, and academic passions. For instance, Granada students Kayla Gallo, Max Gomez, Juan Hernandez, Lori Liu, Abigail Roth, and Nicole Benjamin spent their time interning with an exclusive program at the Livermore Laboratory. The athletes playing fall sports such as water polo, volleyball, cross country, golf, and tennis have begun training now. Students in leadership were back on campus the week before school, volunteering at orientation, and their responsibilities have only grown as they have begun planning the back-to-school dance, the first rally, and homecoming season. The first rally and the back-to-school dance will take place this Friday, August 23rd. Granada's homecoming season will consist of spirit days, class skits, and the traditional homecoming dance. As we welcome freshmen to Granada's campus in these next few weeks, homecoming season is an environment which fosters unity and mentorship. Juniors who have entered the IB diploma program have now begun their academic journey as IB students, and many are dedicated to class schedules which consist of strictly IB classes. Seniors planning to attend a 4-year university are currently narrowing down their application lists and beginning to write personal essays. In the next 2 months, over 20 university representatives will visit Granada's campus, giving seniors an opportunity to learn more about their college options. Students at Granada are balanced and passionate about an array of activities and thus contribute to the community in diverse ways. A group of students on campus have already begun planning Granada's 3rd annual 24-hour race, which takes place in spring and raises money to combat human trafficking. Humans of Granada kicked off their annual social media campaign for empathy on Sunday evening with a post which featured Mr. Hart, the new principal. In summary, the Granada community looks forward to another successful year of learning, an environment which cultivates a holistic education, emphasizing both academics and personal growth. Thank you for having me. I'm really looking forward to the opportunity.
Thank you both. Nicely done. Okay, we're going to move into our next section. This is our employee associations. We're fortunate all of our employees are organized. And so this gives the opportunity for the employees, for the leadership groups to come in, and much in the same way as the student representatives, but give us a professional perspective of kind of what's going on within each of their respective groups. So coming up right now is our Livermore Education Association President, Kate Sorrell. Good evening.
Good evening, President Bueno, members of the school board, Superintendent Bowers, members of the cabinet, members of the audience here and at home. I'm Kate Sorrell, and I'm proud to be the president of the Livermore Education Association. Happy New Year. At this year's kickoff, Superintendent Bowers reminded us that those of us who work in education have a unique experience. Each school year is a new beginning. The 2019-2020 school year started with district and site leadership learning how to dive deep into data. Members of our executive board welcomed our new colleagues at the certificated orientation on Monday, 8/12. The energy in the room was very positive. Amy and I co-presented an informational PowerPoint about the benefits of union membership. I'd be happy to share it with you if you'd like to see it. 60 new hires attended the orientation, and 53, 88%, became members of LEA, CTA, NEA at that time. We will follow up with those who were unable to attend and those who weren't ready to enroll over the next couple of weeks. While the school year officially began at the kickoff, anybody who was driving by any of the schools in the district prior to that week were seeing lots of cars in the parking lot. Counselors, nurses, psychologists, speech pathologists, classroom teachers, and teachers on special assignment were hard at work getting ready for the new year. Classrooms were set up, immunization records were scrutinized, IEP meetings were scheduled, and student schedules were checked and double-checked. The video clip at the start of the kickoff reminded us of the difference we make in the lives of our students. Despite the confusion about if we should clap rhythmically, vocalize our mascot, or chant in unison, the kickoff ended early. English language arts and special ed teachers headed over to LHS to receive training on the newly adopted textbooks. Some sites worked on their MTSS or PBIS goals, while others started to examine student data. On Friday, most of the day was devoted to dotting the I's and crossing the T's so all would be ready when our students arrived. School site leaders welcomed new members of their staff with our signature blue LEA shirt. Our first Rep Council meeting is Thursday at the LHS Library. Tierney O'Brien, our CVT account representative, will provide information about changes to medical plans and how members can maximize their benefit plan that they have chosen. Our bargaining unit members are concerned about the rising out-of-pocket costs. Until the second half of our negotiated salary increase kicks in January, people who have Kaiser medical plans will be taking home less money than they did last year. Every year we start anew. I'm looking forward to representing the counselors, nurses, psychologists, speech pathologists, classroom teachers, and teachers on special assignment who help make our district a destination district. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And we also have, I got a word earlier that Mamie Kristovich, she's president of CSEA, and she wasn't able to make it. We also have Teresa Jennings with SEIU, and then there's Cindy Martinez with our confidentials. So we're going to move into Section 8, which is communication from the public. And this is a time for the public, all of you, to comment either in writing or verbally on any item that is not on our agenda. We, the board, may listen to the comments, and we can ask staff clarifying questions, but we cannot take action on any of those items in this meeting that are not on the agenda, and this is in accordance with the Brown Act. So if you'd like to address a topic that is not on this evening's agenda, now would be the time to do so. We would again reiterate that it's a 3-minute time limit. The clock's activated. I don't have any cards. No cards came through? Okay. So we're going to stay in Section 8. We're going to go to 8B, and this is correspondence that we receive. So formal correspondence to the Board of Education shall be acknowledged if received by us or in the superintendent's office by 4 p.m. the day before the meeting, and formal written correspondence received after the cutoff time will be acknowledged at the following meeting. Electronic communication received via the Livermore Valley Joint Unified School District website by accessing the formal written correspondence to the Board of Education link with all the fields completed and verified. That's what we treat as formal written correspondence. With all that being said, I mentioned earlier, in case it went by, Mr. Rogie, our normal clerk, is off. He couldn't make it this evening, so our acting clerk is going to be Mr. Wenzel. And Mr. Wenzel, I'd ask if there's any correspondence, and if so, if you'd please summarize.
Yes, sir. We have 5. First being Eric Kristen, Executive Director, Coalition of Fair Employment and Construction, 2 letters. Formal board correspondence received via email. Correspondence sent by Mr. Kristen to the Board of Education included several questions for the trustees to consider. Prior to any decision regarding entering into a community workforce agreement, CWA, that was posted on the June 25th agenda. Mr. Kristen wrote to the Board of Education and thanked them for taking time to allow for additional information from concerned stakeholders regarding the community workforce agreement. Number 2, Jay McClurk, community member, former board correspondence received via email. Ms. McClurk wrote to the Board of Education voicing her concerns with the proposed temporary parking lot project at Livermore High School. Number 3, A. Nelson, community member, formal board correspondence received via email 3 letters. Ms. Nelson wrote to the Board of Education voicing her concerns with the proposed temporary parking lot at Livermore High School. She inquired about future meetings with district staff. District staff has been in communication with Ms. Nelson. Number 4, C. Schmidt, community member, former board correspondence via email 4 letters. Mr. Schmidt included the Board of Education on correspondence to our bond office, thanking them for the FAQs regarding the Livermore High School interim parking lot. Mr. Schmidt also voiced his concerns with respect of the proposed temporary parking lot situation and future meetings with district staff. District staff has been in communication with Mr. Schmidt. Number 5, Fox TV, Simone Aponte, executive producer, 2 investigation. Formal board correspondence received in response to an email from a community member, Amber Nelson, regarding her concerns with the proposed temporary parking lot at Livermore High School. Ms. Aponte responded to Ms. Nelson and stated after review of the issues, KTVU investigative unit will not pursue a story. That's it.
Thank you, sir. Okay, we're going to move into Section 9. This is our information items. And I'd ask our Superintendent, Dr. Bowers, if you'd introduce our first item.
Thank you, Mr. President. This time I'll ask Mrs. Kim McNeely to come forward. She is our bond program director. Usually my light's on. She's our bond program director, and she'll be coming forward to present for information only a Measure J bond program summer project update.
Thank you, President Bueno, members of the board, Superintendent Bowers, and Cabinet. I'm pleased to present this evening an update on our summer projects. Okay, there we go. I'm going to start with our playground improvement projects. We did the 3rd and 4th phase this summer. You'll recall that the 3rd phase included improvements at Smith and Sunset, kindergarten play spaces, and all of the play spaces at Rancho. These conclude all of our elementary and K-8 campuses. We also did Americans with Disabilities Act accessibility updates for all of the projects over this summer. So this concludes this project. You'll remember that the purpose of this project was to align our play spaces with our program goals, to make them safer, to make them accessible to all, and to make them easier to maintain. Just a couple of images to recap. This is the kindergarten play space at Arroyo Seco, and this is the fitness equipment at Arroyo Seco. And this is what the fitness equipment looks like now. This is the upper grades play space, and some kindergarten images, this one from Smith Elementary, and the final one from Sunset Elementary. A couple of examples of our ADA path of travel. Again, Americans with Disabilities Act. These were part of our requirement for the Division of the State Architect, and just a couple of images so that you can see those improvements as well. We did additional improvements that included upgrades to drinking fountains, minor upgrades to restrooms to make them accessible so that students using the play equipment have those facilities available to them as well. Moving on to the video projection and voice enhancement systems project. Again, just some recap information. We embarked last December on a 750 classroom update to every classroom space in our district. This summer, we actively began phase 2, which includes 355 classrooms that we're moving forward on. That includes 157 classrooms that were accomplished at Livermore and Granada High School before the start of school this year. We will move now into the fall for the K-8 schools, the middle schools, and Vineyard as we conclude those sites. The entire project wraps up because there is available budget with some improvements to multipurpose spaces, libraries, and media centers, and the board may recall that. Again, just a couple of images. This is a wall-mounted projection system, and then an example of the ceiling-mounted, and you can see a speaker. Again, the goals with this project were to make sure that everyone could see the images that were being presented to students, to clear floor space so that students could more easily move through the rooms, and then to provide audio that allows equal access in terms of the listening experience for every student. Moving on. East Avenue Middle School. I'm going to actually review this through the diagram, which I have shown next because I think it's a little easier to see. The scope of work on this project includes, to the top of the image, the fire water service main line. That's a requirement of fire sprinkling the new building that we will be building hopefully soon. We also relocated and installed some new classrooms to the right of the slide adjacent to the gym building. We have a new exercise room that's being installed now and will be open in September. We temporarily leased a portable classroom to allow for sufficient classroom space until the new building is available. And we relocated 2 portable classrooms adjacent to that to move them out of the building pad area. We also are in the process of finalizing the building pad for the new classroom building, and you see that in the sort of green box on the image. Then the final piece of this is electrical service upgrade and replacement along the lower image or the west side of the site. Just a couple of images as well on this one. We're looking at the portables as they're being placed and or sited on the site. We're still up in cribbing on the one to the far left. This is the new fire water line. This was in coordination with Cal Water, who had to do a replacement water service out in the street for us. I'm making this all sound like it was all seamless. It was not, but happily successful. This is the new building pad that we're working on the site. Adjacent to the cemetery. That's the west edge of the site. And this is the classrooms as they look right now, all installed and ready to go. We were all set for first day, and we had staff on site making sure that everyone was comfortable with the change and adjusting any issues that the teachers had. Moving on to Livermore High School. Work began this summer, actually, on the Athletics and Aquatics Complex project. We began increment 1 this summer. That includes the scope of work there, the demolition of the concession building, building pad for the new building, and installation of the 2 permanent parking lots, the north lot and the School Street lot. That work will continue into September, but all lots are open and everything was ready for the start of school. Just a quick recap visually, the new parking lots are the areas shown in blue on the campus, and the sort of orangish block to the left of the slide is the new building pad area. Again, the parking lot adjacent to that is the student parking lot, and that is open and available to students now. Again, just a couple of images. This is kind of the corner of School Street and 4th Street as it looked before the summer began, and an image of the north parking lot area before we began work this summer. This is the demolition of the concession building as it was coming down. Demolition's always fun and interesting to watch. This is the building pad preparation for the new athletics complex. This is actually lime treating of the building pad to make it certifiable by the state architect's office so that we can construct on it. This is the student parking lot as it's open now, fencing along the upper edge there that secures the building pad, and students were all parked there, and it was good to go Monday morning. An image of the north parking lot looking toward the home bleachers. This is midsummer as that construction was occurring, and the same image as we opened school. Again, a little bit of minor fencing to install and some landscaping, but the parking lot was open and ready to go. Concrete being poured for the new sidewalk along our visitor bleachers on School Street. This is, if you haven't had a chance to walk it, a huge improvement to the campus in that it's just a nice, safe path for students now to get down the street. It's wide. It's just more comfortable, I think, as an access for the campus. And this is School Street as we opened. The entire street actually is going to be slurry sealed as part of a city project next summer. So we did a component of the work, and then in partnership with the city, they're going to come back and reseal the whole street for us next summer. Moving on to Granada High School. I'm not going to go over the scope because I think we've looked at it a lot of times. but that is a reminder of the scope. We made significant progress this summer on this project. In terms of the athletic building, we also poured concrete and asphalt in the courtyard areas to make that accessible for students as they came back to campus. So now the pathways are all open and safe in terms of egress from the buildings. And then after implementation of the dewatering system, underground work moved forward significantly over the summer. I will talk in a minute about that because that turned out to be a great thing for us. A reminder of the area of work. This is actually before we even began. And I threw this in because I think it's kind of interesting because it's starting to look like this. This was the rendering that we all aspired to achieve, and this is how it looks as of 2 weeks ago. So it's starting to look like we were hoping it was going to look. So some of these seat walls are actually being poured as we speak. They're not shown in this image, but that work has started as well. And then finally on Granada High School, this is an image looking back toward the gym buildings. The water has returned to the pool. If you have been on site, you have seen that. They are doing groundwater recharge to the underground aquifers at the rate of 10 cubic feet per second down the arroyo right now. That, as it turns out, trivia, 20% of the capacity that they can recharge with. And so we have had significant water on the site. The fact that we now have dewatering in place and we have a plan to move forward has allowed us to keep doing underground on the pool. We're excited about that. That recharge, we understand, will occur through December. So we will have ongoing water, but we have a system in place that's managing that, and the work is moving forward beautifully. In addition, we reached out to Zone 7 in a partnership opportunity to see if there was the possibility of perhaps reducing flow for a period of time just to provide a little insurance. And they have been open to those conversations, and so we believe that they, in partnership with us, will work on a reduction of flow for a few days as we concrete pour the foundation of the pool. So just another example of one of the many great partnerships we have in this city with various agencies that we work with, both the city and with Zone 7. Finally, I updated the matrix really with all the data that I just shared with you. This includes all the current project information that we're working on, and is our normal protocol. Once we have presented to you, this will be posted to our webpage for our community to see the latest and greatest on what we're doing in the program. So with that, I am concluded, and I'm happy to entertain questions or comments.
Thank you very much. We'll start off with Mrs. Prusso.
I have a couple of questions for you. Could you just remind us of the timeline for DSA review and bids? Like how long? Like, for example, I'm looking at East Avenue. There's a start date there. This is just an example. Start date for this winter, starting the construction. And currently it's in DSA review. Does it then go to bid after that? Could you just is there a timeline?
There is. It totally depends on the scope of the project, what the DSA review timeline is. Something as straightforward or a smaller scope as a portable replacement could be an over-the-counter check within a couple of months. The building, the athletics building that we're doing at the high school has been 11 months in review. So the timeline can vary greatly depending on the complexity of the project. All of the timelines we've shared anticipate the normal review periods that we would expect in DSA. Our normal bid process from the time we do our advertisements for bid would usually be 3 to 4 months by the time we're letting contracts. However, you'll recall that in the case of East Avenue, this is being included in requests for proposals, which we have already received, and we plan to do requests for specific project proposals as we clear this initial review of the documents we have now. So we are on track for the dates that we've identified on the matrix. I think we're good to go. And we now have a building pad at East Avenue, so we have something to build on. So.
Yeah, it looks great. That was one of my other questions was about that. I was there on the first day. That's why I'm specifically asking about East Avenue, but I think it applies to all the schools. Just wondering what the communication looks like from the sites to whoever is working there on what issues may or may not come up after the first day when students are there, and we anticipate problems over whatever we can do, but then once the students are there, how does that communication look like?
So again, specific to East Avenue, but you're correct, it is indicative of our process in normal. We are providing regular updates to the principals as we're opening. So we were in contact as recently as Sunday afternoon before Monday with the principal at East Avenue to let her know the status of the work. We were on site as they were opening, and we, for the first week, usually have daily check-ins to see if there's any issues or concerns or things we need to address. Again, on this campus, but it's typical, we have a couple of follow-up meetings for specific teacher questions or things that we can do to improve the experience for the teachers and students.
Okay, thank you. I think that's all.
Thank you. Mr. Wenzel.
Yeah, you answered my question. I was just saying, this is such an enormous project as it continues for the next couple of years, and we're on track. And that's what I wanted to hear, and that was basically what you were asking. And then the, the appreciation that we're asking for the parents and the community while we're going through this process. And the only question is, and you've done a great job of communicating at each school district, or excuse me, each school, regarding timelines and things that are going on. So, I'm hoping that continues, because I haven't heard a single complaint this summer. There's always going to be issues with big projects, but, we're moving forward, and I appreciate all your work.
Thank you, Mr.
I really
Wenzel.
appreciate the matrix. Visual as I am, it helps you see as things rotate through the process when they're finished and what stage you're in. While the pictures you show, I'm sure, are the pictures, I think I will probably drop in on campuses to see what it really looks like. So if that's not a problem, or however you'd like to play that, because I just don't have a feel for what's going on. And it's the community that comes and says, you cut down our trees. So I'll be in touch. Thank you.
And so it is important on any construction. We have tours. We've done tours with our citizens oversight. We've done board tours. We did a few extra ones this summer. It's important that we coordinate that ahead of time so that someone can escort you and explain, as well as the fact that you may have to have a hard hat and or a vest for safety. There's certain access points because we have live construction going on, and so it's important.
I don't think I'd need too much more except be where the students can be. But I would hard hat if that would be appropriate.
Yeah, just from our perspective, if that would help the district, like if we'd schedule it, there's no opposition to that. Like if we schedule going out, if we want to go out and look at some. I just think, I come out of a construction background, so it's usually less disruptive because the foreman's going to, or a superintendent, I would think that if unless there's some objection, that if we want to go out to one of the sites and look at stuff, that we coordinate that, like by a head nod or something. Yeah, I'm good with that. That we could schedule it just through our normal channels, just so you guys know that we're coming. Okay, we'll do that, because we don't want to disrupt it, because then it goes right to Mr. Wenzel's point. You start falling behind when.
Full steam ahead, yeah.
Yeah, we want to be the ones supporting the projects.
My favorite part is when I say, hi, I'm the superintendent, and then the construction person says, and I'm the superintendent.
Yeah.
Because they have a construction superintendent, and then there's a school.
And get off my job site.
I have to defer.
All right.
You're in the way.
One of the things that, and I just want to go kind of unnoticed, because it seems kind of like just a normal passive thing. You talked about, because we had talked about 650 classrooms, we ended up doing 750 classrooms, plus we're going to do some auxiliary things. Maybe you could explain just a little bit about that audio-visual, and kind of, that is a big deal. To the extent where I'd like to see maybe at year's end, how it actually impacts, if there's a way to measure it, the teachers, the aides, the students. I just think that's going to be a huge positive impact on education in this community. Just talk just a hair, maybe about like the technology or something, and maybe where we expect that.
I would be happy to, and then I'm going to look to Mr. Biondi, because really the goal of this entire process was to enhance instruction for teachers and students.
Right.
So far, we've had you'll recall, just a quick refresher, we did a pilot last spring to test various components of the equipment and to get feedback from staff about what they felt would be most successful. As a result of that pilot and the data and feedback we received, we have implemented the voice enhancement system, which allows the teacher to be her voice to be amplified or his voice to be amplified, and for students to as well use the microphones. My experience, and the little bit I walk around, I don't think I get around as much as Mr. Biondi, is that the students are really engaged. They like having the ability to have their peers hear them and to have a chance to control a little bit more of the dialogue in the room, but I don't know if you have.
Yeah, so definitely it's a teaching and learning project that impacts every classroom, every student in our district. And so that's a wonderful type of scope of a project. And when when all of the teachers return and they begin teaching the first few days, especially this week, a lot of them, their voice, because it's a little out of practice from the summer, it takes a toll on their voice, and they kind of lose their voice. So the audio access allows equal distribution of their voice without the strain on their voice, and the impacts on learning are significant, especially when students are learning to read and phonemic awareness and phonics. It captures all of the sounds that a teacher makes, no matter where the student is sitting in the classroom. And then just the ability to project with a really high quality image where everyone in the classroom can see is fantastic. It also frees up all that real estate in the front of the room where we used to have projectors and wires running. So all around, it's been very positive. And so it may be a while before we see some of the impacts. We're really realizing some impacts immediately.
And I was at Maryland and Lawrence the first day of school and saw a lot of it in action, and many teachers were immediately saying that they already felt better about their voice. Usually halfway through the year, they start to get hoarse. And the other piece that was interesting was with English learners. The teachers at Maryland were saying with English learners, the pronunciation of every English word that they're trying to acquire and learn is so much better and easier. And the kids were no longer as interested as to where they sat. Like, I don't have to sit near the teacher because I can hear. And then the teachers, I found, were not so stationary. They were able to move freely and help out and look at students as they worked in cooperative groups rather than feeling tied to one spot. So it really, I mean, it was neat to see just the first day, and I think it's only going to get better.
And the additional handheld microphone really brings a student voice to the whole class as well. So if you have a quiet student, it amplifies their voice as well, which is great to hear.
That's great. And then maybe it didn't come up, but I know because we've had some correspondence, and it sounds like we've had some real significant progress on an adjustment. We had some, there was some concern, community concern, relative to temporary parking or something at Livermore. And I think we've come to like a resolve, which sounds like a big deal. So maybe we could just kind of talk about that just a hair, if you have any information on that.
We have done several a couple of community meetings. We've also done a significant amount of correspondence, I think was alluded to in the board correspondence. We have put out a facts and information sheet that's available on our webpage, and we've committed to updating that as well. Based on some of what we heard in terms of the community meetings, we have had several meetings with the City of Livermore. We've met with the City Housing Authority. We've met with the campus to try to address some of the concerns, the most recent of which is the neighbors had expressed an interest in perhaps looking at whether students were the appropriate group to be parking in that lot. Working with the campus, who I have to say have been a fabulous partner in this process, just constantly looking for ways to be a good neighbor and to try to improve the concerns. They have indicated that they are supportive of making that lot a staff lot so that it will reduce. That's actually just as of a day ago. We've been ongoing having conversations, but that they are supportive of having students in the current staff lots and staff perhaps parking in that lot as a way to help address, I believe, significantly some of the neighbor concerns.
That's great. And that's the name of the game. I mean, to me, this whole project, I mean, I know you stepped into this project and you didn't drop the ball. I mean, it's perfect. This has been, you said that it wasn't seamless, but you've made it look seamless. And that's, to me, that's the art of anything. I mean, you've got great partnerships. You've kept this thing from dropping, and we're right on schedule. We're doing great things. And this isn't, I mean, just so folks know, yeah, we're painting schools and we're cleaning schools and maintenance is doing all their normal stuff, but this is a transformational community project. This will change Livermore forever. And there's a lot of responsibility, and the public has entrusted us with $250 million. This is a really big deal. And a lot of kids, there's 14,000 kids that are going to benefit from this, and ongoing. So this is a spectacular thing, and I really appreciate the effort you and your staff are putting in to make sure that this thing is going forward smoothly. So thank you very much. Any other questions or concerns? Thank you, really appreciate it. If you could introduce 9-2, please.
Certainly. Thank you, Mr. President. Next, I'll invite Mr. Bruce Wilkie, our Director of Maintenance, Operations, and Facilities, and joining him will be Glenn Sherman, our Assistant Director. of Maintenance, Operations, and Facilities. They will be presenting for information only an update about their summer projects.
Thank you, President Bueno, members of the board, Superintendent Bowers, and Cabinet for having us. And we'd like to tell you what we did over the summer. So we were responsible for maintaining the buildings, but we try to get in some projects as well. So we'll just step through some of what we have done. So we painted a couple of school exteriors. We painted Arroyo Seco and Mendenhall schools. And Ross Volker helped us through this project. And just want to do a shout out to Ross and Ray. They're in the back. They're some of our support managers that have done a wonderful job for us. And we painted all surfaces of these buildings except the FRP doors, which are the fiberglass reinforced plastic doors, which we don't want to paint. And we've also replaced 32 heating, ventilating, air conditioning units via Prop 39 at 7 sites, and Mara Sanchez led us through that. Those are some pictures of some of the new units, both on the ground and in process and on the roofs of buildings. We've also replaced 201 old thermostats with the new Pelican thermostats, which we can control remotely and have classroom control, as well as installed door sensors so that the thermostat will, or the heating and cooling will turn off if the door is open for more than 5 minutes and will resume once the door is closed. And Mar helped us with that project. And we also did a room conversion over at Junction Avenue. Room 6 was a computer lab, and we changed it into a STEM classroom. So there's a picture in the upper left of what it looked like when we started, and then one in process and what it looked like a few days before school opened. And Jam Shipley took us through this project, and we have a new teacher to the district in that room. And we also did a small room conversion over at Granada. They have a large staff conference room, and we took one end of that and changed it into a psychologist's office. So you can see the before in the upper left, and it's never a very exciting photo for just a room, so it's kind of boring, but Mar took us through that. And over at Rancho Elementary, we built 3 classrooms into, we converted the media room into 3 office spaces. We need some private conference rooms for our consultants to meet with parents, and we were able to repurpose the panels that we had in there that were temporary offices to 3 other sites. So we had to do things like HVAC and lighting and data and electricity, and this was a DSA project. Over at Vineyard, we made some improvements. We added a couple of parking lights in the front parking lot because there will be student parking there now. So those are operational. You can see the installers working on that there. And then we also configured the front lobby. As we have new fencing around that campus, the students will come in through the lobby and then out through the door on the far end of that picture to enter the campus in a controlled way. And we repurposed those lights. They were taken down from the solar projects, and we put them up over at Rancho. Over at Junction, we had a drainage problem at the admin building over the last quite a few years where water would come into the building, so we finally put in a French drain behind the admin building and got that finished. And then over at Maryland Avenue and Joe Mitchell, we added some structure so that we can control how people enter the campus so that they go right directly into the office rather than continue on through the lobby and into the rest of the school. So Mitchell's on the left and Maryland's on the right. And over at at Maryland in the upper left picture there, we had to do a lot of ADA accessibility work because a lot of the grades were out of conformance. This was a DSA job. They required us to make those corrections to the site. And Jan Shipley was instrumental in getting these photos, these projects completed. And over at Granada, you probably noticed we don't have a Vandal Watch trailer anymore. So we were able to move that on and out of there and free up that space for a future use.
I have some ideas for that use, but Mr. Van Schack won't let me talk about them yet. So,
Even our Granada student rep smiled at that one.
so our next slide, here we have a few examples of the areas where we replace flooring. I'm particularly excited about the new LVT products, luxury vinyl tiles. They do not require waxing or stripping of old wax to apply new wax, making this a much easier floor to maintain and a safer floor for our custodians, as the process of wax removal creates a very slippery surface, which can lead to slip and fall accidents. So carpet's great, but we got to vacuum the carpet, but the new LVD floors are excellent. Bathroom flooring was replaced at many sites. Altamont Creek, Arroyo Seco, Croce, and Del Valle received some much needed flooring in some of their most frequently used restrooms. And as you can see from this picture, what a huge difference here at Del Valle, where the girls' restroom had both the flooring and the partitions replaced. What a massive difference that makes. Looks excellent. Another adult transition class was added at Mocho this summer. We're also working with some security fencing for them, and the pictured area now has about 2/3 of that area is now artificial turf. So artificial turf is going in there, and there's a Boy Scout who's going to create a garden area as part of his Eagle Scout project. So that'll be nice when all that's completed over there. The doors at Granada High School, what a huge difference. They turn out great, and we're able to remove the doors that have been in service well past their prime. And over at Del Valle, we added a Dutch door, so it's a controlled student traffic through the office area a little bit better. And if you have not been to Mendenhall, it is a must-see. New exterior paint, room numbers and signage, security fencing, updated office. This site looks great. I especially like coming around the corner into the staff parking lot and having that fence gone right. You're in there, and boom, this fence and the gates right there. It is much improved. So this particular sewer line at Mitchell was having to be cleared about every 2 weeks, so we would avoid backups there. So this year we were able to get in there and install a brand new line, so we won't have to run through that drill every 2 weeks over at Mitchell. Every summer we have our fire alarm systems checked in service, and we also have our backflow devices inspected and repaired as needed. Our fire sprinkler systems are also checked, and 5-year certifications are done where needed, and sprinkler heads are all checked for signs of corrosion or problems. Summer team cleaning has elementary and middle school custodians come together, forming 4 teams of custodians to deep clean our school sites. High school custodians stay together at their own teams, since there's 7, so they have a good team all in themselves. This year, with a new policy of offering coverage to custodial staff to take vacation during school year and have sub-coverage, we experienced increased numbers on our cleaning teams and had a much more effective cleaning result from those increased numbers. I'd like to put out a special thank you to our maintenance staff, custodial staff, and contractor partners who perform an amazing amount of work in a 10-week period in weather that can sometimes be very uncomfortable. Hats off to them for their hard work and effort this summer and all during the school year.
And that concludes our report. We'll take any questions if you like.
Thank you very much. We'll begin with Mr. Wenzel.
It's more of a comment. I did go to Mendenhall School. It looked great. Walked the campus with Chuck Rogie, and I thought it did an excellent job. My question to district, what would be, and to answer President Bueno's thing, probably in the next 2-3 weeks, it's hard with scheduling to come down and look at certain campuses. I'd like to see the new security system. What would be the best way to view that in action? Do you go to the campus, or where would I go?
Are you referring to Mendenhall?
Mendenhall?
And the fencing in terms of security?
No, the camera systems.
Or the camera systems? Well, you can make an arrangement with us to come. We'll make an appointment with you.
Another option, Trustee Wenzel, is to contact the principal of the school, who could probably show you with the place where they view the security cameras and can kind of show you the arrangement and how they're viewed by campus. So probably best to contact, I mean, if Mar Sanchez or Bruce, if you're interested in sort of how the system was designed, if you want to see how it's implemented and used by the school site, call the school site directly. If you're interested in the setup and design, probably with Mar Sanchez or Bruce.
Perfect, thank you.
Yeah, do you think maybe, I mean, because I know Trustee Rogi's probably, he's expressed interest. I'm not sure if there's any other interest. Maybe we could just kind of do like an organized type field.
Yeah, Kathy can probably just set it up.
Yeah, you guys do a great job of scheduling.
Yeah, we can do that.
Maybe we could just kind of go out and that we can hit at one time, or
Yeah.
that'd be great.
Yeah,
I think that'd be helpful.
I'll work through that with you.
And also what's exciting is that's I think we're going to be featured on the news. There's a news show that's coming up because some of the security features came from the bond, but also some of our new security features and working with the Livermore Police Department on enhancing security measures came from our grants from the federal government. So
Right.
we're very excited about that. So.
Great. Mr. Wenzel? Mrs. Prusso?
First of all, I'd like to just say that you guys have done a great job. I was at 5 school sites on Monday, and they looked amazing. So, and also the principals there had really good things to say. East Avenue, I guess they were worried about the blacktop, but when they came Monday morning, it was done. So anyway, the paint and everything on there was done, and it looked great. One question that I had is, how do you determine what the needs are and which projects to do, especially these larger summer projects? How does that look?
Well, we have a pretty good feel within our department of what the needs are, since we're at the campuses so often. And so we look at those needs and just kind of make a determination of which one we feel is most important. Some of these are bond-funded projects like the painting, so they're kind of identified to us as to what needs to go next.
And also a few years back when we did our facilities master planning, Mr. Benchak went through with staff, and then we had the outside group too, and they went through site by site to prioritize. And so those things were all put into a larger scope and sequence of highest priority need, urgent, emergency, then the have tos, then the want tos, and then the nice tos. And so everything comes in a cycle of refresh. But the most high priority were the ones, because the bond, remember the bond was, we had over 500, you might not remember because you weren't on the board, but we had over 500 million in needs, and we have $245 million bond. So some things that we still would want to do would not happen under this current bond. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I think, and another thing is, Mr. Wilkie and I sit down with Mr. Sherman sometime in the spring, and we make a summer plan. And obviously, our first priority is projects that involve safety issues. And so those go to the top of the list. And we also want to be really attentive to the fact that we don't want to go and paint a school, 2 months before they're going to have a big construction project. And so we try to coordinate with the bond office, what's the plan over the next 6 months. And so we have the schedule, like a paint schedule over the next 3 years, and we modify that. But we tend to prioritize safety issues first. And so the fencing at Mendenhall was a big deal. But we said, since we're there fencing, let's also take that opportunity to change the flow in the office. And so that's how that project kind of came into being. So we prioritize in the spring of each year what the summer projects will look like, and then we do the best we can to complete as many as possible.
Well, again, great job.
Thank you, Ms. Prusso. Mrs. White?
Thank you. Thank you. We're all familiar with the obvious paint jobs that have happened in several of the schools, but when I was visiting Mitchell the other morning, I was experiencing the new flow to the office. And it's hard to figure out how to get in the office, but once you find the right door, everything seems to work fine. You go in and assert your business and then move on to do it and sign in probably. I didn't leave the office, so I didn't sign in. But it all looked very firm, very secure, impenetrable almost. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. White.
Thank you.
The work you guys are doing on the projects is, I think what we're going to see is we're going to see a continuing like escalation. It's as the guys feel more proud of what they're doing, you know, all of them, the guys, the ladies that are working there, I think you're going to keep seeing expectations rise. And you can see it. You didn't mention, but you did the maintenance and operations facilities when we went down and looked at your guys going through the place. Just the little, you know, the mottos that you guys put on the wall, that you could see the pride and kind of ownership that people are taking. And I think that's part of the whole transformation. As you guys do your work and put in protocols and the maintenance on all this stuff, the community money doing the bond stuff, the federal money that's coming in to do things, it's going to change. And it's changing for the better. And so it's you can see the pride that's taken just when you shake the guys' hands that are down there and say, hey, this is our new tool room and this is how we clean this out. There's not even a complaint. It's like people are proud of what they're doing. And that will transfer over into our students. And to me, that's just something we can never lose track of or never really take for granted. Because, you know, like we all know it, but it happens to be a motto that the superintendent puts on her wall, and a lot of other people share here. You know, people support what they help create, and that's what everyone here is doing. 1,400 employees working for 14,000 kids. It's really good, positive stuff. It's not just work. It's a mission. So really, really appreciate it. And make sure you convey that to all the people that are working out there. Really, really good job. Thank you.
Thank you.
And we have Ross and Ray Sanchez in the back, Ray Sanchez Jr. in the back, and they have done tremendous work as well.
We've got one more under discussion, Superintendent. 9-3.
We do, thank you. So for our next item, this is the 45-day budget revision, and I'll ask Ms. Susan Kinder, our Assistant Superintendent, to present this for information tonight.
Good evening, Mr. President, members of the board, Superintendent Bowers. So tonight we bring the 45-day budget revision to you. You adopted our budget on June 25th, and 2 days later we got details of the state budget because that's when the governor signed the state budget. So with that budget, we found that there was a few changes, and some of them are pretty substantial for us. So our projected revenues right now, I'll just give you an overview, is $153,243,760. Projected expenditures are now at $152,983,677. We have transfers in of $14,674, which is now a change to the fund balance of $274,757. We have an estimated beginning fund balance of $5,146,971, which then would leave us with an ending fund balance of $5,421,728. So that is an increase of approximately $570,000 from the adopted budget. And what are the changes that have incurred since then? So the biggest thing is the special education preschool grant. And that is, so there was a lot of discussion in June about preschool, and there's a lot of discussion at the state level about special ed in general because we know we are underfunded. And one of the things that the governor wanted to do is he wanted to fund some special ed programs, and preschool was one. But there was a lot of, nobody knew exactly what the formula was going to be. The governor originally wanted the formula to be based on unduplicated students, which wouldn't necessarily be fair for special ed because special ed doesn't have anything to do with unduplicated. Unduplicated is low socioeconomic, foster youth, and low and English language learners, thank you. So when the budget was finally adopted, they came up with a different formula that was based directly on preschool students. So for us, the estimate is about, we still don't know exactly, but it's a little over 1.2 million, which is very substantial. We've also heard from one side that this is ongoing, but school services at our last conference told us to consider it one time because there is language that needs to be changed in statute for this to continue. So at this point, we're just considering it one time. Then we also had, we have maintenance, memorandums of understanding, MOUs, with the Tri-Valley ROP, and so we have money that's coming in for services that we provide to them, and then we also have money that's going out for services that they provide to us. So that was some of the small changes. And then because we've gotten this influx of funding, we were able to then look at the board priorities and go back to the athletic stipends, which we had talked about, and we added $360,000 so that now the district will be able to cover all coaches' stipends and assistants coaches. So we're working on exactly what those sports are, but we know that this will now alleviate some pressure off of the sites from having to then look to their booster clubs and fundraisers to make sure that they can cover their stipends. And we've spoken to the athletic directors and the sites, and they're very excited about this change. Then we also had some additional expenses that we needed to cover. The additional phone expenses because the California Teleconnect Fund has expired, and so our expenses are going to increase because of that. And then we had some miscellaneous adjustments for other contracts that we had to adjust. So overall, our revenues increased 1.3 million and our expenses increased 740, so our ending fund balance increased by 570,518. Oh, going too fast. Okay, so next steps. This is just the 45-day budget. We know there are still other changes. There's another piece of special ed that's out there, and that's the equalization piece. We're waiting for direction from our SELPA to tell us what that will bring us, but that will be another positive addition to our budget. So we're looking forward to seeing what that will be. And then obviously it's still early, so we're looking at our enrollment. Usually at day 14 is when it stabilizes, so then we'll know what our actual enrollment is, and then we'll also be able to reconcile our actual staffing. And then, of course, at the next board meeting on September 3rd, we will be bringing you the 2018-19 unaudited actuals, which will then change our beginning fund balance for this year. So more information that we'll bring to you at next meeting. So that concludes my report. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
We'll start with Mrs. White.
It seems to me that we adopted the board budget, the district budget, with a vote of the board. So it does seem to me that we ought to adopt any changes to the budget with a vote of the board. And this is only listed as an information item. How do you square that?
Well, the 45-day revise allows the district to bring any major changes to the board. It wouldn't normally get actually approved as a budget until first interim, but you are welcome to move this to an action item if the board
it just
so
seems
desires.
to me that it's a parallel action, that on the other hand, I don't know, and I guess I'm concerned about the athletic stipends that you added. We sort of had a little bit of a discussion last time when we agreed to adopt the board budget that we would discuss what we were going to do about athletic support. And I don't recall having had that discussion. I guess there's certain things y'all can do without our permission or direction, but I'm not sure after we had the discussion that's it. And at least we would like to have a chart of how much of the $750,000 we put into the athletic program that's you want us to authorize. That's it.
Thank you, Ms. White. Mr. Wenzel?
Yeah, my recollection of the last meeting, there was direction, and we talked about it as trustees, providing the district direction where we wanted to go, and the discussion went for about 20 minutes regarding, parents working hard and, this coach stipend and the amount of time coaches spend with students and athletes. And the direction was given, as best I can remember, about the coaching, assistant coaches, and in fact breaking it down to officiating and fees. The reason I remember it pretty well is because I brought it up and I was talking about it, and I'm a coach, and I've been seeing this for years, and as a parent, it doesn't affect me because my kids, I paid for it, but I've been hearing the complaints for years about this and all the work, and then what the parents do in this community and pay for parcel tax and voting, and it was something that was very important, and I think we all addressed it and looked at it and provided direction to the district that this is something that should be taken care of by the district. And that's what, that's the way.
Well,
you know.
clearly I had a different impression because we had the discussion, but I didn't feel that there was
Well, we
a
talked.
direction component to it, that we would do this and not this, or, you know, so.
Just one of the things that I recall, part of the conversation is a general sense that we wanted to move away from a reliance on parent donations
Yes.
to support programs that were essential. And one was education or supplies, particularly at the elementary school. So the board direction was to move away from expecting parents to bring school supplies, and so this year we provided those supplies for those students. But the second portion of that was the reliance on donation money to pay for aspects of athletics that were essential, which was coaching salaries, referees, and league fees. And that was the essence of the conversation, was trying to move away from this reliance on donations to fund things that we knew were essential year after year after year. So that's kind of the direction it felt as though was given at that time. That was my understanding. That's the conversation that Ms. Kinner and I had.
That's my recollection as well. Anything else, Mr. Wenzel or Ms. White, with Ms. Pruso?
Well, I guess I would propose that in the future, when you feel you've been given direction, that you tell us what the direction is before we stop the conversation, so that we all can understand that direction has been given.
We actually have a spreadsheet that the board developed from multiple board workshops for budget, giving us the board priorities. And so I think the only difference here is we didn't really expect to be able to move that quickly and far, because we normally would not have had extra money, and so of this substance. And so I think my sense of what was discussed at the board workshop and reflected in, and we can resurface the chart, but there was a chart from years ago that said gradually increase the funding toward athletics. We went from 0 to 50,000 to 100,000 to each year. We've been adding, we added the athletic trainer. So that was not just from last meeting in June. I just want to clarify, It's been a general board direction even prior to Mrs. Pruso, but continue to get to that point. And so we use the example of the establishing a baseline of the academic supplies, and then augmenting that with donations. That was the example. And so the reason why we began with the stipends is because that's something that's actually something you can budget for, because it's a certified amount. And the concern was that if we just gave discretionary money to sites for athletics and they didn't use it for these designated things, they might use it for something extra, then what could happen is then they would later say, we need donations and we can't pay the coach. And so this was a way of us getting out in front. I think what was surprising to us was that we probably wouldn't have made that much movement in this year. It was supposed to be maybe a 3-year more process, but the funding that came in for special education allowed it. So that's probably the part that made it move more quickly. But the designation was clear, that it would have to go toward a designated, something that we could identify. And it's easy to identify. These are all the middle school coaches. These are all the programs we have. These are the sports we have. These are all the high school coaches in sports. And it isn't for as many assistants as they would like. There's a set amount. So we believed we had sufficient direction, even if it wasn't that specific on this amount, because we didn't know them.
Okay, so I guess.
But I'm still happy to have the board, if they want to bless it again or something.
Yes,
like
I think that would be valuable when we do the budget next February, whenever we have a budget workshop, that we reauthorize those priorities so that the current board can have spoken on it. And I would like the chart of what we spend the $750,000 on for athletics.
Right, and we are going through that, and Mr. Venchak's developed it. And just again, to reiterate, without beating the dead horse on it, is just that our staff, we felt, myself included, that the original approval of the board was almost contingent on the fact that if we had money, it would go toward athletics. That there were, my sense from our board budget workshop and the discussion that evening was that some people might not even want to vote for the budget as it was, because it wasn't sufficiently covering that. Right. So that was the caveat, that I don't know if it was actually in the motion, but it was understood. So that's, just to resurface it, we actually thought at that point that if we didn't come forward with something, then some people would have felt that they shouldn't have voted for the original budget placeholder.
Okay.
So,
The dead horse is gone.
Thank you, Ms. White. Mrs. Prusso.
Yeah, I do recall that we discussed it in the last meeting, but my recollection of the direction was in the workshop that we had, I believe it was in February, where we talked about this as being a priority. So for me, this rings true, and I agree. I like that we're getting supplies for the students. I believe we also talked about they're also getting musical instruments. Is that right, that they can use? So it's like we're covering all of these bases so that students can participate in these extracurricular activities that we know are so important in their education besides just the academics. So I support it, and I know, as I have students in athletics, that, what these coaches do, and I think it's important that we have the funding for them, because often the parents aren't able to donate, and then that puts the burden on the teams to try to raise the money. So I'm supportive of this, and I think my recollection is that we did discuss this
we discussed
in the not just last board meeting, but in the workshop, and that's where I remember giving pretty clear direction on that. So that's all.
But, we say that a workshop, you make a pronouncement at the beginning that we'll not make any decisions at a workshop. So in fact,
I didn't make that announcement.
It's part of the deal. When you have a workshop, you don't make decisions at workshops.
But those aren't my words.
I think you say it in the introduction to the workshop.
That may be your recollection, but those aren't my words.
Yeah. To me, it makes sense that if we are talking about it in the workshop, that it's a priority for us, and that we suddenly have this windfall, that yes, it probably happened quicker than we were expecting, and that's the surprise. The surprise shouldn't be that this is what we asked for. The surprise is that we have it, which is great. But that's my perception anyway of how this worked.
No, and I share in that recollection. I mean, this has been a long, lengthy, I've only been on the board 5 years, but this has been kind of a this went back, my recollection going way back just a few years, was that as the money came in and the budget was restored since the 07 kind of crash, that we were rebuilding things in the district and re-implementing, because a lot of things were pulled away. Music, a lot of the extracurriculars were unfunded, and we're bringing those things back. In addition to this, and so I'm fully supportive of this, and thank you very much, for the money coming in, and thanks to the state for funding the special ed stuff. And this is part of a continuing effort, and we're working the PACER over at CSBA, and there's a big concerted effort between superintendents and labor, the California Teachers Association, board members from different boards, to work on our members for the full funding. And that's part of this, is one of the things that we continue to hear is one-time money. And it's a balancing act that's extraordinarily difficult on the finance departments of all these districts. And so that recurring funding is things you can depend on, and that goes towards retaining teachers and attracting them and all of that. And to me, that's the big push right now. And to me, that's one of the best collaboration pieces I've seen in education. And some people say it's the first. I haven't been around long enough to know. But we're all parties, from labor to management to the electeds, are all working collectively. And this 1.2 or something million in special ed might be just the first leg of that. But to me, that's what's critical here, is that these are public schools, and public schools should be fully funded, not to the minimum level, to the floor, but to what we really need. And California schools are 41st in national funding, and they should be first, and that should be our goal. And so this is very welcome. I have no criticism at all. I fully recollect exactly what it is, and it's appreciated. I know it's appreciated on the sites because I'm on the site every single day, and I know they're very appreciative of it. And it still doesn't get us there, but people are very appreciative of it. So really, really good work. So thank you and your department for being so nimble and able to react to it. Appreciate it. Any further discussion on 9.3? We can move into our discussion action items. And if you could introduce 10.1, please.
Certainly, thank you. So I see Ms. Kim McNeely. She is ready to come forward once again. She is our Measure J Bond Program Director, and she will be presenting the contract amendments and change orders for ratification by our board.
President Bueno, members of the board, Superintendent Bowers, and Cabinet, Staff this evening will be providing a brief review of our current contract amendment and change order requested for ratification this evening. I'm going to start with contract amendments. We have two for you this evening. The Livermore High School Athletics and Aquatics Complex project. We're requesting an architect contract amendment. This is for HED Architects. They are the project architect for this project. The amount of the contract amendment is $17,600. The changes related to design services required for the interim parking lot and then associated improvements on the School Street right-of-way, as well as city encroachment permit requirements as part of the School Street improvements. The second contract amendment is for the Granada High School Athletics and Aquatics Renovation Project. Again, this is an architect contract amendment with Lionakis Architects. They are the project architect for the Granada project. The requested contract amendment is $93,290. This is related to the pool infrastructure and foundation redesign approval through the Division of the State Architect and the County Health Department. Moving on to change orders, we have two as well. Both of these projects are contract allowances that were included in the contracts for the two playbox preparation projects. These contract allowances are for minor project issues that might occur over the course of the summer and to allow the project team to have flexibility in responding to minor issues. In both cases, these allowances were not needed. They're related to unforeseen conditions and safety items. In the case of the Rancho project, it is a $20,000 credit to the contract, making the final contract amount $156,059. In the case of the Emma C. Smith Elementary School Playbox Preparation Project, the credit is for $17,500, making the final contract amount $107,458. Both of these revised contract amounts are reflected in the notice of completions that you'll see on the consent calendar when you get to those items. Oops, apologize. The superintendent's recommendation is that our Board of Trustees approve the Measure J bond program contract amendments and change order ratifications. Happy to entertain questions.
Thank you very much. Is there any discussion? Any question? And we have no cards on it, so I'd entertain a motion.
I move that we approve 10.1 Measure J bond program contract amendments, change order ratification.
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Wenzel, support of the superintendent's recommendation. That motion's been seconded by Ms. Prusso. Is there any discussion on the motion? Mr. Clerk, if you call the roll.
Ms. Prusso?
Aye.
Ms. White?
Aye.
Mr. Wenzel, aye. President Bueno?
Aye. And that motion carries 4-0 in the absence of Mr. Rogie. Thank you very much. We're going to move into our consent items. I believe we have 11 of them this evening, 11-1 through 11-12. Any interest in pulling any? Then I entertain a motion to move them.
I move that we approve consent items 11-2 through 11-12.
Second.
Thank you, Ms. White. We have a motion by Mrs. White. It's been seconded by Mr. Wenzel. Is there any question on that motion? Mr. Clerk, if you'd call the roll, please.
Ms. White?
Aye.
Ms. Prusso?
Aye.
Mr. Wenzel, aye. President Bueno?
Aye. That motion carries 4-0. Consent resos, let's see. Yeah, there's 5, I believe. I'll entertain a motion on that.
I move that we approve consent items 12.1 to 12.6.
12.2 to 12.6.
12.2 to 6.
Oh, 12.2 to 12.6. Thank you.
So we'll, I just as a clarification, on the resos, there's numbers 003, 1920 through 007, 1920.
Yes.
Okay. Do you have a second on that?
Second.
So we have a motion by Mrs. Prusso, been clarified, seconded by Mr. Wenzel. Any discussion further on the motion? Mr. Clerk, if you'd call the roll, please.
Ms. Prusso?
Aye.
Mr. Wenzel, aye. Ms. White?
Aye.
President Bueno?
Aye. And that motion carries 4-0. Let's go to consent removed. Let's see, what do we have? I think I think our acting clerk can't vote on 113 too. So I'll make a motion, we approve the approval of the August 1st, 2019 special board meeting minutes.
Second.
The item's been moved by myself, seconded by trustee Prusso. Mr. Wenzel, you have to abstain from this one. Any discussion? If you'd call the roll, please.
Mr. Wenzel, abstain. Ms. Prusso?
Aye.
Ms. White?
Aye.
President Bueno?
Aye. 3-0 with the one abstention. Then we're going to start with Mrs. White tonight, section 14 on the on our updates.
Looking forward to all the beginning of school district activities and back to school nights already. I was delighted to be able to go to the, I guess I would call it graduation ceremony for the Livermore Lab Foundation sponsored student internship program, and where the students go to work every day for, several weeks and work on projects hand in hand with lab folks. It's so rewarding to see both the cooperation of the students, of the community, that is the Lab Foundation, and the schools, and the competence of our students who just speak so articulately when they talk about their projects. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. White. Mrs. Prusso?
It's been a good summer for my family, but we're excited to get back to school. And I was able to start a little bit earlier with the Leadership Institute, where we gathered with the leadership teams from each site, and they worked on solutions for building better school communities. And then, like Mrs. White, I was also able to attend the LL&L Lab Foundation Summer Internship Recognition at the lab. We had 12 students from our district, from Livermore, Granada, and Del Val High School, who had the opportunity to work on projects with real scientists and engineers, and they got paid to do it. And in addition to that, they also received a $1,000 scholarship. And it was really neat to go around and listen to them talking about their projects. I had no idea what they were talking about, but it was, they were so excited, and it was just really rewarding to see them be able to do that. Also, got the chance to meet all of our new teachers at the new teacher orientation, and was happy to see that they seemed very eager and excited to start school. We'll see how they feel now after 2 days of school, but they were very excited. And also able to visit the reopening of the maintenance of facilities building. And my favorite part about that were the caramel brownies. So if they could just have those there all the time, I'll go there more often. And also visit the annual health fair at Junction. The back to school kickoff last Thursday was my first, and it was very exciting for me to see the entire district all together in one room, and I think it was pretty energizing. And I hope that other people were inspired as much as I was to really focus on the needs of our students. And besides these events, as a parent, I was able to attend freshman orientation at Livermore High School and registration at East, and both of the schools were filled with mostly excited students and really excited parents. And then also this summer, we had asked our curriculum and education services to come up with a math plan, and we were able to meet with them and talk about that plan, math focus for our district, and I'm excited and anxious to see how it rolls out, and just appreciative to them for their time in spending time on that, and just the importance that I feel like we all have for the math in our district, and hoping to get better at it. And then also Monday was my first day of school as a school board member, and I was able to visit each of my schools, Smith, Rancho, East, and Del Val, and I'm happy to report that I only saw the parents crying at drop-off, so the kids seemed fine. So anyway, we're excited for another year of school.
Thank you very much. Mr. Wenzel.
So the battle with special education funding goes on. Last topic with Washington, D.C. was they explained to me that the national average of what the IDEA program is providing districts is about 15%. Our number is between 7 and 9. And so I'm getting a better understanding what that 15% means. It's not an average in California. California is more expensive. So long story short, it didn't get heated. but it's a lot of rhetoric, and so now I've got to work with our congressman because that's what they told me to do. So Congressman Swalwell, we're going to sit down and kind of get a game of attack on this and see what can be done there. Did several site inspections. I think we already talked about. I think the maintenance and what the district is doing is an excellent job. Thank you for all that work. Just I'll keep going out and taking a look and listening to parents and hearing all the good things. I get all the accolades, but I want to share. Thank you very much for all that work. Workday. Mr. Vanoy and I have been working with them. They sent us an email about 2 weeks ago about completing 100 bags, emergency bags. So we'll be working probably in the next month or so, or he will. He'll be doing all the work on this, presenting what they built for us. So I thank them for that. The kickoff went very well. It was very exciting. We attended the introduction to the new employees. Cabinet was there. They introduced the trustees that were there, and they seemed very energized, and it was pretty exciting. And I thank Mr. Biondi for working with me. I apologize missing the workshop, but then he gave me a crash course in math and what the district is doing. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wenzel. I mentioned earlier the whole, in the off-season, the summertime when the kids are out, a lot of things happened. Things are cleaned more so than ever. And I think a lot of it just goes with the whole apathy is gone because the community supports it, and you've got everyone recognizing that, and success feeds on success, and I think that's what we're having right now. To me, it's an exciting time. I'm pretty fired up about it. I mean, you can just see things that people might have had as concerns. Earlier, President Sorrell with our LEA said something about being a destination district, and it is. Multiple years of top workplace. It is a destination district. People leave other districts to come here, and they're happy because this is a happy place to work. That's going to translate into kids. And on top of that, we have massive transformational improvement going on in our facilities. That is a great thing. I mean, to me, it's just really good work, and I think what we're going to feel here this year, and it's going to just continue to build as we enjoy community support, is we're going to feel the difference in the kids. The teachers are going to feel it, and we're going to start seeing it in a lot of different regards. And so, to me, it's just an exciting time to be here. I'm glad that I happen to be here. When you went out to that Lawrence Livermore thing, Mrs. White mentioned it. It started off a little program, 6 kids. They double it. It's 12 kids. They're fired up out there. The professors and the scientists and the science community and the foundation, they're fired up to have our kids. The kids are going in there and saying, I had a hard time paying attention in school. Now the kid's talking about this little switch that'll operate at the bottom of the meridian trench and under pressures. And they're designing this stuff with printers and looking at and they're coming up with ideas. One of the guys that was out there, this guy's got a PhD, and he's saying this kid, he had an issue, so he put it to these kids that were a little bit unmotivated in some sense, and he gave them an idea, and they adopted it, and it worked perfect, and these kids are just like electrified. And to me, that's the whole point of education, is to find what works with a student, how you can turn their mind on and have them be engaged. And that's what's happening. And it's going to happen in all regards. We don't have an Achilles heel here. And I think it's a fantastic time to be in Livermore, and a lot of credit goes out to the leadership here for bringing us and leading this and bringing in the right people and being a good steward of public funds. So it's just a great time. Thank you.
And so for my part, I just wanted to emphasize all of the professional development that went on over the summer. We had over 180 LVJUSD teachers, administrators, and some of our board members joined us to participate in the Leadership Institute. And that was our time to communicate and reinforce district-wide initiatives that are at the core of our improved learning outcomes for all students, the math mindset, as well as data diving that we heard about earlier, and the foundation for our multi-tiered systems of support, as well as strengthening our sense of team. And so the team time was really valuable. We had a survey that came afterward, and that was the most valuable for our site leadership teams, which include teachers and all the different departments and grade levels. And so we're heading into this academic year. We have a lot of momentum and focus on academic mission and our commitment to all students, and particularly math improvement. We held our leadership team workshop, and we hosted the back-to-school kickoff that we heard about. The emphasis was on one vision, connecting with every student, every day, every school. So we are, as many people said, very energized and excited about what's to come. We also have our first Collaboration Wednesday this week, and we will provide each school site with freshly baked cake as an official welcome back celebration, along with a card signed by all of our board trustees here and our senior cabinet, so they'll get that tomorrow. And we have a quote from Helen Keller on the cake. It says, "Alone we can do so little, but together we can do so much." Thank you for your unwavering commitment to LVJU's team and to Livermore students. Your hard work and dedication are greatly appreciated. So that'll be coming out for all school sites tomorrow. Another summer highlight was we had some of the LVJUSD Community A's games. Our students performed the Star Spangled Banner. The last one is this Thursday night, August 22nd, with the Yankees. We will feature Morgan Rogie, senior at Livermore High School, singing solo. So she was our only solo act that was selected. And she's also the daughter of Trustee Rogie, who couldn't be here tonight, but we were hoping he'll be there for the game. I also had the honor of throwing out the first pitch once again at District 57 Little League World Series. I know Trustee Prusso also did. I think she did a little better than me, and even though I practiced more, but we both made it over the plate, so that was very exciting. I also had a chance to attend the Livermore Lab Foundation internship program, and you guys did a great job of discussing that. So I was interviewed by Skype for KRON, and I was able to feature the Student One card in partnership with our library, and that's very exciting. So all of our student library, all of our student identification cards have their logo and mascot on them, and they also double as a library card, and then the back has resources for suicide prevention and mental health. So we're very happy to do that, and that's also a model for many. It focuses on academic and social emotional learning and support. And then most rewarding was our first day back to school just yesterday. So we welcomed back nearly 14,000 students, and including our seniors. It'll be our class of 2020, very exciting. This is my 33rd year in public education, 21st year in LVJUSD, 10th year as superintendent, but it doesn't matter how old I get or how long we've been here, we're overcome with the excitement and exhilaration of the start of a new year. So we're looking forward to back to school night, August 29th at elementary, September 4th in high school, September 5th for middle schools. And that concludes my report.
Thank you very much. Did you happen to mention that Morgan Rogie is singing the national anthem on the 22nd?
That is Thursday night, yes.
Yeah, I know.
Very exciting. Why, have I said that too many times?
No.
Oh,
no,
I'm
I
just
just
really
want to make sure
excited.
just want to make sure that everyone knows we have an amazing soloist singing the national anthem at the Coliseum.
It is pretty exciting.
Yeah. With no further business, we'll adjourn at 20:58.